Hi out there in Internet's land, it's me, Francis7, your friendly neighborhood drill instructor. Okay, you maggots, today we're going to be learning how to make interactive objects. By the way, interactive objects, that's the type where there's zero documentation. Not even that stuff they throw into their folders. Nobody's written down how to do any of this junk as far as I can tell. So, think of the hundreds of hours I'm saving you trying to figure out how something works with nothing written down because I spent those hours. Anyhow, once you get your first object, or better yet, maggots, once you get your third or fourth interactive object done, gift me a copy of that one. Or the first one that works out really well. Anyhow, let's get started. Well, let's begin. I've created some textures in Photoshop, and for this example, I'm going to have an outside layer of my box have an additive light texture, which is going to be animated. It'll have two frames which flip, and just to make life easier, I made just one texture so I can put it on the object when I'm making it. Well, let's take a look in Gmax. Really quickly, this is the example model. It's the Hula Girl. If you've never seen it before. I don't know why it's running so slowly. I've been having some problems with Gmax and getting it to work here all of a sudden. Okay, well, oh great, it's inside a collision mesh. Oh well, anyhow. Up at the top are the nodes, and they've put the nodes up on top of the Hula Girl. I honestly don't know why. The nodes are where you want lights to appear from. So if you want a light to shine on the Hula Girl itself, you got to put the nodes somewhere way far away from the Hula Girl, in front or above or to the right or the left, and have it shine on her. If you put them inside your object itself won't actually light up. If you put it outside, it will. Let's take a close look at the structure. It's basically a couple LODs. It's got a master node. You're going to want to note the names of everything are all lowercase. It'll make it easier to merge in the objects. And each LOD, which is just basically a model, it's not like making a prop or anything, has 0 through 9. And if you make your model and name it all in this exact same structure where you have a master, well, I don't know if you have to have master, but if you have collision, LOD0, LOD1, and they're all lowercase, then when you merge in the nodes, they'll automatically attach themselves and keep the right numbers, and it'll save you a lot of work. So if you just name it the same thing, it makes life a little easier. I mean, if you wanted all capital letters because you're some kind of anal retentive modeler or something, you could always go back in and change the sample model. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll make an all new model here, and we're just going to make a fairly small model. We're going to make a box, and that's really too small to make a box. Okay, I'm going to make the box half a meter, so let's say zero point 0.5 by 0.5 by 0.5, not 5, 0.5. So there I've made my box just basically be these, it's just a small box. Okay, so now I've got my small box. And let's see, I just right click on the box and convert to editable mesh. And you guys should know that already. And then I'm going to go ahead to the modifier list where I'm going to add a map to it, UVW map. And I'm going to go ahead and pull out one of these textures, which I already told you guys I made. So I made several textures in a folder. And let me go and get these. And this is going to be inside of the box. It's just going to have a metal texture. And if you've missed our texturing tutorial, basically I'm just going to make it a box. So it's going to be on all the sides. We'll have this sort of metallic texture on the inside. But it's going to have a glowy thing on the outside. And that's where this comes in. Oh, also I probably should go in, like I said, anal retentive modeler. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to name this one, we'll name this base metal. It's important you name your textures if you're just starting out in modeling. Interactive objects will have a texture list which you have to pick. So if you're going to animate something, it's going to show up with that model. This is going to be self-illuminating, so it doesn't glow in the dark. Remember, if it doesn't glow in the dark, if it is that's confusing to me. Anyway, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this object and I'm just going to make it a little bigger, and I'll hold my shift key down and I'll clone it so it's just a teeny bit bigger than the box, and I don't care what it's named. And I'm just going to put it sort of around this box, sort of like so. I'm going to convert to editable mesh, and I'm going to drag the other texture. I think this will work. Now I made two textures, one of them being a two flip animation, which I'm going to put in the previewer. But for this particular one, I'm just going to use this sample picture. And I'm going to drag the sample picture down and onto the object. And there's my object, and that will be sort of transparent later on. Probably want to name that texture. We're going to name this texture animation 1 or something, just so we know what it is. And it's not going to be self-illuminating, so I'm not even going to bother to click that. I'm going to right-click, convert it to editable mesh. And you know what? I might want one side to be a little different color. So I think I'll select the top tool, and I'll turn on my tab panel, go to my modifiers here, and there's a tutorial on vertex shading, but I'm thinking I want the top to be sort of maybe red. Nah, it's not really looking very good. Blue? Nah, I don't know. Pink? Nah, you know what? I didn't even want to do that, so never mind. Let's undo that a bit. Oh well, you can have fun with vertex shading on something. Let's go ahead and attach these two objects together. Yeah, whatever. And it's going to be LOD0. It's going to be a real simple model, just so I can show you animation properties. And this model will be an auction, so you can, well, actually, I guess you can't get it in auction because it would be a finished model, wouldn't it? I don't think I can sell a base model. I'll see if I can let you guys play with it. I'll leave it out at Miracle Pictures. Yeah, there we go. I'll leave it out at Miracle Pictures in the front lot so people can play with it. Let's see. Okay, next thing to do is see LOD0. We'll just go to the edit menu. We'll say clone. We're going to make this LOD1. And edit clone again. And LOD2. Once again, the naming of that is real important. It's got to be lowercase. It's got to be the same way. Otherwise, when I do this next trick, it won't work. Then what I need to do is I need to merge in. Let's start with merging in the master node. I don't think it really matters. You can use the shop node. I don't think there's nothing special about the node except for dimensions. So I'm having a project folder, and there's the interactive builder. There's an interactive object, and my folder has become filled up with junk. So here it is, M00 object. I just want the master. And there's the master node. I'll stick it inside so that it's sort of inside the object. And the master node deals with things, if I'm not mistaken, it deals with things like proximity. So if you want to be so close to it, the master node is important. So if you want it to light up when you get close to it, put the master node closest to the object where the person's going to need to be near it. Most objects like this would be inside, but if it's like some kind of a ray gun that shoots out and you want the person to get near the ray gun and the ray gun to go off, you'd want this thing to be sort of in the middle of the beam, or actually at the end of the beam where the guy would be closest to it when it's going off. So that there's also, it says you can have it up to 25 meters away, but I've never actually seen an interactive object that measures quite right. They seem to only work about 15 meters away. Okay, so let's grab all three LODs, and we will use the linking tool, and we will go ahead and link these to the master node, and say link. There we go, and I've linked them to the master node. If I go and look at my tree now, I should now have a master, LOD1. You know what I forgot? I forgot a collision mesh, didn't I? I'll just go create a box really quickly. I really don't care. It's just going to be a little box. Here we go. There's the collision mesh, and we'll move it down a little bit so that it sits right. Maybe floats a little bit off the ground there. It might be a good idea since it's supposed to glow. COL, all lowercase. I'm going to link that one to the master node as well. I can't believe I forgot that. That's a pretty beginner mistake, but then again, I'm always making beginner mistakes. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and merge in all the other nodes, and this is the way it works. I'll go to the object, I'll say open up the object, or merging, but I got the open button. And I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to use the control key, and I'm going to go ahead and grab every single one of the nodes, but not the LODs or the collision or the master. So basically, everything is going to be highlighted is going to be in, sort of these things are going to be what I'm going to get. I don't want the LOD, I don't want the collision, I don't want the master. I just want these things. And I say OK. And then it's going to ask you, hey, you know what? These are the same. Do you want to match this? And you just say yes to all, and that's the easy thing. Here we go. Boom. Now we have these. Now, these have to deal with lights. So if you want your object to light up at all, you probably don't really want them in there. And just a good idea. You never know. You might want to program your object to do something, other lighting thing later. So what I would do is I go along and I collect each one of these particular things, like FX0, all three of the FX0s. You want to grab all of them, I'm pretty sure, unless you're after some really freaky effect. And you just sort of drag them somewhere. Let's say, I don't know, a foot or two this way. And let's grab the next one here. Let's say 1 and 1 and 1. So I've got all three of those selected. And I'll drag this one over here. And then I'll move it up and above. So I've got a light that can actually shine down on it. And maybe I'll just do one or two more of these. So let's get the 2. And when I was building some interactive sets, like the sets for creepier features, one of the things I went through and did was make sure that I had different lighting nodes like all over the set. So everywhere there were different lighting nodes, because I had like 10 of them to spread around. It's like, well, why not spread them around? You know, there's no particular reason to keep them locked up except for the size of your object, etc. They really don't affect anything else except, as far as I know, except for lighting. If you find out something else they can affect, you let me know. That would be really great. I'll put it in the notes on this video. Let's grab one more here, and we'll put it way up here somewhere. Okay. So now we got all these nodes. That's probably too far up. It's only a small object anyway. So now I've got several different nodes that could light up, or ways it could light up, etc. And now let's go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and save this really quick. And I have an example folder, so let's with an X. Yeah, I named it example. I know, that's not exactly a very good thing. I was going to name this like test 1 or something like that. And then I need to export it. I've got everything. I might want to go through and make sure that my list works. Once again, you need a master node, you need the collision, you need your LODs, and then you need all the nodes, which need to be named 0 through 9. And they need to be named 0 through 9 for each of your LODs. You can't just have them sort of higgledy-piggledy anything you want. Anyway, so let's export this. And we'll export it. Let's go to the desktop again. I probably should reset the default folder, shouldn't I? Example, and we'll name this Model 1. Not very original. Make sure we export it as their model, and we save it. Oh, degenerate triangle, who cares? Don't worry about those, they don't matter. They're just dummy nodes anyway. So now I pull up the previewer and I open up my model. So I open up my model, and let's see, projects, example, interactive. Here is the model, and it's just a cube, nothing exciting. So let's see, there's the base metal, and that's just a very small little mechanical texture, and I apply that. I can't see it right now because it's inside the other texture. And then for the catalog, I have that other texture, well, not the animated one, but I have this one, and I need to make this one be an additive texture. And so this is what my little box is going to look like when it gets done, which is going to be kind of cool looking, I think, actually. So then I need to take the catalog image, and for this particular catalog image, since I'm just doing this as a test and I really don't care, I'm just going to take the snapshot and name it catalog. I don't care. The next thing is, now that I got the catalog image, now I actually need to put the actual animating texture onto this object. I can't leave it this one, it wouldn't actually work. So I go back to the materials, I go to the animated texture, and I'm going to pull up the 2-piece animation. I do not need to animate it. I just have to have it the right mode. If it's chroma key, if it's additive, if it's the default mode, you need to put it in the right mode. You cannot make the additive light with the interactive object. You can animate it now, and then when you take out the developer item, it'll already be animated, and I guess you could override it. I built one that was that way, so but generally speaking, you don't have to have it animated, or you can test it out and see if it looks right. Anyway, let's go ahead and submit this, and we'll turn this off for a second because I don't want you to see my pass. We're back again, so we're going to submit this now. So we'll go submit to there, we'll click next, make sure your textures are right. Now, I didn't really mess around with this, so I'm just going to leave it as config 4. I'm not 100% sure what config 4 costs. Let's look. Details of config 4. $2,900. Well, it's a little pricey, probably because of the pixels I'm using. I was going to use smaller pixel budget on it. Wonder why I couldn't get a 3. LOD 2 verts. I have 72 verts? Should only be about 8. Oh well, probably because I did that vector shading. So anyway, my fault. Anyway, we'll just go next, and we'll get the catalog image I just made. And I always name my base item, base interactive cube. And this is the base item. And in the background, you can hear Jessica kind of complaining about the dog wanting to get back in. That's kind of funny. All right, so anyway, I'll send next, and I'll submit this item to there. And off we go. And I usually put a note in letting people know that this doesn't look right until it's programmed. This will not look right until it is programmed. And then I go ahead and submit this to there. So off we go. And now comes the fun and exciting part, which is actually the programming of it, which has to be done inside of their client. So once again, when you submit your object, you got to make sure if you're going to use additive or chroma key, you cannot pick those later. You can do any type of animation. You can tell it whether it's going to glow or not when you're submitting it, but you can't do it. Yeah, interactive objects have all kinds of things. Remember I was telling you those lighting nodes? This particular set has all kinds of those lighting nodes all over them. Let me go and open the door. And there I have this lighting node. So when I'm standing in the doorway, I have quite a few lights shining on me. And when I close the door using the action tag I've made, the lights go back to sort of a normal setting, which is kind of a cool effect, actually. Oh, spooky. Anyhow, let's get out that interactive object now and give it a try. Well, I guess FRAPS won't actually record the the pages, so I'm absolutely unclear how I'm going to proceed from here. I'm getting the feeling I'll have to make a video out of a whole bunch of still pictures. So anyhow, now you know how to make your interactive object. Then you can just get in World and start playing around with it and see how you can make it work. Hey, I had to figure it all out from scratch, and you got the hard part done for you. Remember, you can hide textures, but you can't say swap them around. That would be an important thing to note. You can turn a texture on or off, make it light up or not. You can have it animate in a variety of different ways, but you can't actually move one texture from one part of the model to another. I guess I will see you in another video. For now, I'm Francis7, and that's how you at least get your interactive object submitted. So that's, knowing is half the battle. Yeah.